Hi. Now, laying a wood floor can be fairly straightforward unless you have lots of door frames. In my case, I have a lot of door frames. So I'm going to show you how to lay a wood floor in a rather tricky area. So what we'll do first of all, we'll go along and look at the area I have to cover. It's not a very big area, but there are lots of door frames. Well, this is the area I'm going to put wood floor down on, and as I go around you see it's a fairly tricky area because there are two doors there. There's two doors there, and there's two doors here, plus there's this sort of passageway down here where the doors are almost opposing each other, which presents some sort of minor problem. But I'm going to have a go. Now I'm going to go step by step, and the first step will be, of course, to remove the carpet. Okay, so that's the area I've got to cover. I had a friend once called Graham. He was a plumber, and he said that in any job a lot of the time is thinking time. So I thought, what do you mean? And he said, well, you need to sit down and think a few things. First of all, what am I going to do? Secondly, what materials do I need? Thirdly, what tools do I need? And finally, how am I going to do it? So I did a plan. I laid a plan out, and you'll see the plan now, which is how to go about doing the job. Having thought about this is sort of a plan I've got for laying this floor. First of all, we sketch a floor plan, find out how much wood we need, remove the carpet, remove the skirting board, undercut all door frames, put down the underlay, lay the wood floor, replace the skirting board and cover the radiator pipe holes, and then fit joining strips. It all sounds pretty easy, but a couple of these things need explaining in a bit more detail. Well, this is the sketch of the floor plan. Dimensions are fairly accurate, and I've worked out that I would need about 4.5 square metres at 10%, which is about 5 square metres of wood, and of course the same amount of underlay. So I will order my wood and the underlay and go about preparing the room for laying the floor. Okay, having got the plan and decided how much wood we need, where are you going to get it from and what type you're going to use? Well, as far as types are concerned, there are three main types. There is a solid wood floor, which is good, long lasting but fairly expensive. Then there's a laminate, which looks a bit like wood, but it's not as nice as wood. Laminate comes in different sizes. So if you get a very cheap laminate, when you walk on it, it feels like, well, cheap laminate. So you get if you buy a laminate, buy a thicker one, a minimum 12mm thick, I think. Or you can buy the engineered wood. This is laminated, but it's also got a veneer on top, which makes it look like and feel like real wood. And this is the type I've ordered. And I bought this from a company called woodenflooring.co.uk simply because they gave me, I thought, the best value for money. The board I bought is normally about £50 a square metre, and I got it for about £15 a square metre. So I've ordered my wood from them, and that should be here soon. Okay, now we've ordered the wood, I've taken up the carpet, and I'm going to take off the skirting board now. That sounds easy, taking off skirting boards. You see these books, they do this and do that, and it sounds easy. And it can be. If you're in a house where the skirting boards have been put on with adhesive, they'll probably pull off fairly reasonably without any damage. But in my house, it's not old but not young either, the skirting boards were nailed on, and in my area I'm doing, all the walls are just plasterboarded walls, so I couldn't just pull them off. I had to saw them off. So my skirting boards are now no good, and I have to buy new skirting boards, which is not a big deal really. So I've taken the skirting boards off and I've undercut all the door frames. That's I'll show you later on how I did that. So I've been taking the skirting boards off, undercut all the door frames and put down the new underlay. Now again, what sort of underlay should I buy? Well, there are different types, and I bought one with a metal underneath side which keeps the damp out. It was about £4 a square metre, I think. Gives you a good job, makes you feel like you're walking on wood. So I've laid the underlay down. As you'll see in my video, the underlay is laid down, the door frames are undercut, and now I'm just waiting for the wood to come so I can put the wood down. Here we are now, the skirting boards have been removed. All the doors have been undercut, every one of them. You can see they're all been undercut. And the underlay is down. What we're doing now is waiting for the wood to come. When the wood comes, I can decide what to do. I'm going to start from this side, I think, because it's a fairly complicated side. There's two doors and also two pipes to get round. So when the wood does come, I hope to start from that side. Once I get started, it won't be too difficult, but the first piece is awful to put down. Now, how do we cut under the door frames? Well, you could hire a special tool from a hire shop, but the easiest way really is to cut it with a sharp saw, a piece of the board and some underlay. Here we have this one here. It's a saw I bought for the job. It's a special flooring saw, and with the underlay here and the board against the thing, all you have to do is cut away until you get the piece out. And normally it knocks out, so you're left with a nice area for the wood to go underneath neatly. Well, the wood arrived today. I can't do anything with it just yet because you have to leave it in its box, flat on the floor, in the area where you're going to lay the floor for about 2 days to allow it to acclimatise. While I'm waiting, a friend of mine said to me, do I really need to take the skirting board off? Well, think about wood. It does tend to expand and contract with the change in temperature. If you put it right up to the skirting board, then it can't go anywhere but buckle up in the middle. So it is recommended to leave a 10mm gap all the way around the floor. Now you could do this with the skirting board down and perhaps cover the gap with some coving or wood cornice, but you still have a problem when you get to the door frames. How do you put coving around the door frames? Not very easy. So I recommend taking the skirting board off, leaving the 10mm gap and then covering it with the skirting board. That way you get a nice, neat, tidy job. You can still go under the door frames quite easily. So that's what I've done. I've taken the skirting board off. And what about the wood? The wood I've got is engineered board. You can see the board here, and if you look carefully you see it's got a layer of, in this case, real wood on the top. So it's a real wood veneer on top, and it's specially treated to stop scratches. This type of wood clicks together very easily. When you're laying it on the floor, all you have to do is to click the two joints together like that. You got a nice clear joint. If you have any problems, you can always use this tool, which is a tapping bar. You can see it's got felt pads underneath to protect it against the wood. You put this against the wood and knock it with a hammer like this to pull the wood together. This is very useful when you get to doors and walls, etc. So, although we don't need skirting board off, it's a good idea to do it. You'll see when I finish my job that the actual job looks a lot neater with new skirting board on. Of course it does present a problem, skirting board. If you've got to buy a new skirting board, you have to put mitre joints to the corners, and maybe if you haven't got the electric saw, you have to use it by hand, which I did, and it becomes a bit tedious, but it's not too difficult. So now I've got to wait now for 2 days until the wood is acclimatised, then I can start to lay it. As I said before, I'm going to start at the doors near the bathroom and work towards the hallway. So let's see how we get on with that job. Well, this is a finished floor, as you can see. I've put the floor down, put the skirting board back, put some little wood covers around the pipes. Now, were there any problems? Well, first of all, the first problem were these doors here to get under the door frames. So what I made here was a cardboard template for each corner, which I'll show you. That's the cardboard template, and as we can see, it gives you a shape of the corner. If you look at the template, you see also that I've cut away the edge here a bit, just there. So you need to cut the door frame back as well, that underneath the same way, so it slides into place and covers the wood. So that was a bit tricky, but I got the first piece down eventually, and then the other piece, of course, going across here were fairly straightforward. Just put them down, click them into place and keep going back, making sure you stagger the joints. So if you cut a piece off the top, you'll probably go at the bottom anyway, and then put it down. Now, where's the first problem I came to was at this door frame here, because you can't click the wood down, it's too difficult. So what I did was I made a piece of wood first of all, you can see about the size of it there, used the template to cut it to the right sort of size, then I clicked it into place further down the board, about 4 or 5 inches down, and then used my tapping bar to tap it under the door frame. So that was the first piece. It went in okay eventually. The second problem was at this door frame here, which was a fairly difficult problem because I've got a wood floor in the other room and I couldn't really push the floorboard far enough in to get around it. And also we have the same problem of dropping the floorboard down. So what I did on this one, I cut a piece off the corner of the frame, you can see there, and then it was easier to put the wood in place. And of course at this corner here, the same problem as that top corner, I had to cut the wood and then tap it into place. But all these little things were problems which were difficult, but not too difficult. This last piece here at the wall there, to leave a gap of 10mm, you can put it down and pull it back into place with the tapping bar. So all in all, it was difficult but not too difficult. Laying wood floors is quite easy, provided you don't have many door frames. But with door frames, it does present a problem. But you can see that by putting the skirting board off and replacing it, the actual finish is much better than it would have been leaving a gap and putting coving all the way around. So there we are, that's laying a wood floor in a fairly difficult area. The wood looks nice, I'm quite pleased with the job. If you were a professional, you could have professional tools for cutting under the skirting board and around the door frames, but I've had to use hand tools. Thank you very much for watching my video.